good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're watching this. It is the DOUG here once again for Wild Water Sports Episode 5. We're going to talk about a little bit of college, some NBA, and some NFL playoff scenarios, and some suspensions, and non-suspensions. But let's get going and talk about college football. The Texas A&M QB, Johnny Football, as his nickname is, won the Heisman. He is the first freshman to do it. Now, I'll give the man his props. He did something I don't think anyone thought he could do. But, to me, I don't think he deserved it. Just because of the fact of, I thought it would have been Teo, because I respect the defense. I know what defense does. Unfortunately, Teo was probably the best shot to win the Heisman for defense. So at this point now, we may as well just say, if you ever want to win a Heisman Trophy, you may as well be the quarterback or the running back at this point. So anyone who's on defense, if you ever wanted to win the Heisman, just don't even think about it, because you're never going to win that. They're just going to give it to a quarterback or running back from now on, apparently. So that's that. I do say congratulations, but still, that should have went to one of the two seniors. You know, that's what I would have done. My vote was for Teo, and if he didn't get it, I wanted it to be the other senior, because at least that would have made somewhat of sense. But that's my opinion. Moving on. NBA. Just to give you games of what happened earlier tonight. This is, by the way, December 11th. That's if you see this just later on, it's going to be past these. Washington Wizards, believe it or not, win a game. Yeah. That improves their record to 3-15. When you beat the Hornets, who are 5-15, you know, that's really not an accomplishment, as far as I am concerned. Denver beat Detroit. Cleveland beat. This is what's creepy, and I'm going to get to Lakers in a minute. The Cleveland Cavaliers beat LA. And I don't mean the LA Clippers. I mean the Los Angeles Lakers. Wow. I'm sorry, there should be no excuse to losing to Cleveland, LA. Come on. Come on, LA, wake up. This is bad. New York beat Brooklyn, what was a good match. And right now at halftime, it is the Clippers leading Chicago 47-40. Staying with the NBA, let's go to the Eastern Conference and look at the standings right now. We're not going to worry about the league, because pretty much, let's just talk about some stuff. Right now, the best team in the Eastern Conference is the New York Knicks, 16-5, followed by Miami at number with 14-5. Atlanta's 3 at 12-6. Chicago is 11-8. Philadelphia is holding the fifth spot at 12-9. The Nets are at 11-9. Boston is at 11-9 as well, and Milwaukee is 10-9. And on the outside looking in right now is Indiana, if the players were to start this week. The worst, of course, still worst team in the whole Eastern Conference in the NBA in general. Yeah. Still Washington, because they suck. I want to talk about some things. Besides Cleveland's a big win, and I think the most surprise in the Eastern Conference has got to be the Brooklyn Nets. I don't think anyone really thought they would be this good out the gate. So I got to give them my props for that. But it's still early. There's only been a few, only about 20 games in. Give it, depending who you are, 20, something like that. But, it could very well be saying I may not be able to say Washington's the worst team anymore, depending on what happens in the next few weeks. But anyway, I'm not surprised the Knicks are doing well. I'm not surprised Miami, Atlanta, Chicago, Philly are in the top 5. I'm really not. I'm surprised Brooklyn is where they're at. And I'm really surprised Boston's barely hanging on. The Celtics, I would have thought that, in the Milwaukee Bucks could be could be a dark horse this year if things continue. Over in the Western Conference, wow, we got a lot to talk about. San Antonio's number 1, followed by Oklahoma City. That doesn't surprise me. Then it's Memphis, the Clippers, Golden State, Utah, Dallas, who's won the last 3 games at 11-10, and Denver at 11-11. That would be the playoffs right now, because Lakers are 9-13. They are playing terrible. This is not the Lakers team I thought we all were going to see this year. Okay? When you're getting teams like the Houston Rockets, the Portland Trail Blazers, Minnesota beating you and doing, and ahead of you in the records anyway, there is a problem. A big, big problem. But that is just me on that one, and yeah, I'm going to move the webcam. Deal with it. So Lakers, right now, I got to say, you're the worst team, and I don't mean record-wise, I mean just because you're playing terrible. This is not the Lakers team I know. And I'm not a Lakers fan, I'm a Mavericks fan, but this is not the Lakers I think we all knew. Particularly with all the stars Lakers had. This is disturbing if you ask me, very disturbing. Maybe, just maybe, it gets fixed at the LA. If not, you could actually see only the Clippers from Los Angeles making it, and the Lakers be bounced. Which could be very happening. Okay? And that's scary. Okay? That is scary. Particularly given the fact when you think about it, Golden State's doing better than you. Moving on. In hockey, yeah, I guarantee no one thought I was going to say hockey. Yeah. There ain't going to be no season. They can't, NHL cancels all games through December 30th. So say bye to hockey this year, which sucks. Moving on. Alright, first thing first, before we even talk about playoff scenarios, we got some things to talk about. The blame game, as I want to call it. The bounty scandal. Because the Saints players are celebrating because the suspensions have been lifted. In this instance, the Saints still lost this season. They could have been in the thick of things right now with a 4 straight 10-win season on the Saints. So they're 5-8, hoping to maintain some respectability as the regular season winds down. Some want to blame Logic Don. I don't think that should be the case. There's only one man you can blame, and that's Sean Payton. Because he's earned him a 4-season suspension. So to me, I think he gets a certain part into this. Alright, let's just keep that in mind. And I'm surprised the suspension was lifted, if you ask me. I didn't think there would be, but hey, that's my opinion. Anyway. In suspensions update, Steelers suspend Mendenhall for 1 game, so he will not be playing for Dallas against Dallas this week. So if you have him, best bet is to not play him. Des Bryant does plan to play. He is hurt. Excuse me, sore throat. I apologize. And Pats fans, unfortunately, bad news. Dante Stallworth is on season-ending injury with ailing ankle. So if you have him, get rid of him now in fantasy. And here's what makes what the disturbing thing is, we're going to talk about the playoffs now. The only team in the NFC to clinch a spot right now is Atlanta. They won their division to 11-2, followed by San Francisco, Green Bay, the Giants, Seattle, and Chicago. And then after that, you pretty much got a 3-man race with Washington, Dallas, and Minnesota trying to keep hope alive, and hopefully Chicago, Seattle, Giants, Green Bay, or San Francisco all fall on their ass. I think Atlanta, I'm taking a look at Atlanta's schedule. I'm going to take a look at all the ones who are in the hunt. If you take a look at Atlanta's schedule, besides the beating they got by Panthers, they got the Giants, then at Detroit, then versus Tampa. This doesn't really matter that they're going to be in the playoffs, so it doesn't really matter about them. It's just really about seeds. So I'm not going to spend too much time on Atlanta. But let's head to San Francisco, Green Bay, the Giants, Seattle, Chicago, the Washington Redskins, the Dallas Cowboys, which are my team, and Minnesota, who I believe are the front runners for 2 through 6. San Francisco. You do not have an easy schedule the next two games. You're at New England, which is bad enough, because you just saw what New England did to Houston. That was a murder death kill game, one of the many. And then you play Seattle, who completely destroyed Arizona. Then you take on Arizona at home. There's a very good chance you miss the playoffs. If you gotta win at least two of these, as far as I'm concerned. You don't win two, you're done. And I don't think you're going to be able to beat New England. I really don't. Moving on. So, Niners fans, you may want to hope you can beat Seattle and Arizona. Green Bay. You pretty much can clutch the division title with a win over Chicago this week. And then you play Tennessee at home, and then you hit the road for Minnesota. Keep an eye on the week 15 and 17 games if you're a Packers fan. Those could decide your fate right now. Moving on, we are heading to New York, home of the Giants, who destroyed the New Orleans Saints this past week. Now, for Giants fans, you got to realize you have to win all three games. Two will not guarantee anything. You got to win three if you want in. You play the Falcons on the road, you play Baltimore on the road, and you play Philadelphia at home. My biggest problem with the Giants is sometimes they've been inconsistent, haven't shown up when they needed to. I mean, come on. You get your butts whipped by Cincinnati, then you destroyed Green Bay, then you lost to the Skins in a game you should have won as far as I'm concerned, then you beat New Orleans soundly. I can't trust a team like that. But you got Atlanta, who's coming off a bad loss. Baltimore, who's been iffy at best this year, and that's me being honest, but they're getting some guys back. I'm talking about more about that later in a few minutes. Then you got Philly, who's terrible. But to me, I still believe unless Dallas and Washington screw up, which could happen, Giants will not make it. But Giants have to win out. That's it. You got to get to 11 wins. You have to hit 11. Period. 10 would somewhat be good. 11 would be better. Moving on, Seattle, who right now holds that wonderful 5th seed. You just got to win. I mean, you play Buffalo this week, which is not going to be that hard. And then you play San Francisco. Then you play a Rams team. And you're at home for both of them. You win all three, you could easily win the division and move up into a higher seed. Win 2 out of the 3, you're still making the playoffs. You win one, you may make it. And if you lose all 3, I'm going to laugh my ass off. Particularly after what you just did to Arizona. So Seattle, I think, is safe. Out of all the teams so far I'm talking about in the NFC, Green Bay, Seattle, I think are the 2 safest right now. Chicago, what in the world happened? You started out so good, before your bye week, you were 4-1. And then you kept on winning. Then you lost to Houston. Then you lost to San Francisco. Then you beat Minnesota. Then you got your butts whipped by Seattle, and then Minnesota just beat you this past week. Now, you play Green Bay at home, and it's your last home game, because then you go to Arizona, and then at Detroit. You could still make it if you win the next 2 games, because you're only 8-5 right now. You could still get in as 10-6. But if you lose all 3, only win 1, you're not making it as far as I'm concerned. So Bears fans, particularly this Sunday, if you want it, you got to show up and beat Green Bay and knock them in the mouth. But that's my opinion. Alright, let's go to Washington, a team who's one of the 3 teams who are on the outside looking in. Now, Redskins have a good, easy schedule. The schedule's favored them. The end of it's favored them. As far as I'm concerned, out of the 3, they got the easier schedule because they had to play at Cleveland and at Philly. Now, the at Cleveland games, I think, is going to be could be the trap game, and I say that because Cleveland does not play like a team who sucks. Because they actually are pretty good, and Cleveland could have been a playoff team, depending on what happened with Dallas and Philadelphia this year. Of course, Philadelphia's been here nor there this year. They're really not that good. But then it's that Week 17 game versus the Cowboys. There is a extremely high possibility 1 or 2 things that happens. that could be a playoff spot, or it could mean jack shit. Because if it stays exactly the way it is now in Week 17, and everybody wins, you know, Packers win, Niners win, Giants win, Bears and Seahawks wins, the game against Dallas for Redskins and vice versa, Cowboys against Skins in Week 17 will mean jack shit. Excluding bragging rights, but that's it. But as far as I'm concerned, I don't care if you're 10-6 or not. 10-6 or not, you missed the playoffs. It's all for naught, as far as I'm concerned. And the same thing goes with Dallas as well. You're playing Pittsburgh this week, and then the New Orleans Saints. Both of them are home games. Yes, the last two games for Dallas, they have had to be close, but nothing wrong with being close either. You know, that's sometimes a good thing, sometimes a bad thing. It's either near or there. Now, there's a very good possibility that this could be a great, you know, Dallas needs this win, Pittsburgh needs it too. Hopefully Dallas can win out, you know, win all three, go 10-6, but still, it will not mean anything if everything stays the same. Now, Minnesota is the one that interests me the most, because they could still win their division if things go their way, which is very funny. But they would have to beat the Rams in Houston on the road. That's going to be tough. But then you're at home for Green Bay. If the Vikings win these next two games, there's an extremely high possibility you could see them in the playoff with the division, and not Green Bay or Chicago. I don't think that's going to happen, but we never give up hope. So do I think the NFC changes? No. I say right now, looking at the schedules and everything, I don't see it happening. I really don't. I just don't see it changing. I don't. Alright, let's go to the AFC. Houston right now starts the playoff berth. However, they do not have the division locked up yet because the Colts are actually playing good ball and Colts control their own destiny. And we will talk about that in a minute. Now, of course, as far I will not be talking about New England or Denver too much this week. Why? Because they're already in the playoffs. They're in. So congratulations to them. But let's talk about the teams who... Now, I'm mentioning Houston because they don't have the division yet. That's why, because we don't know what seed they're going to move to. Let's take a look at their schedule. They play the Colts twice. This week and then Week 17. There's extremely high possibility they can go from the first seed all the way to the fifth. I would not be surprised if that happened, with the way how they just got destroyed by New England. Houston, if you want the division, you have to win this week. Win this, you win the division. That's all that it comes down to. Win, you get the division title. Lose, you would still need help to get the division title, but there would be a good chance you'd lose the number one seed. Keep that in mind. But Houston's already in, so let's move on from there. Baltimore. Well, you're 9-4 right now, and the only reason you haven't clinched a playoff spot yet is because you haven't hit 10 wins yet. Now, of course, a win this week and a loss by Pittsburgh and Cincinnati get you the division title, which could happen with, you know, because Pittsburgh does play Dallas, like I said, and Cincinnati plays Philadelphia Thursday. That could still be a loss for Cincinnati because, you know, weird shit happens. That's the best way to put it. Now, of course, like I said, though, Dallas is expecting to get some players back, but they did lose Jackson for the next 4 games because of failing the drug test. Dum-dums. Unfortunately, at the same time, Peyton is 8-0 against Baltimore. That is the disturbing part. Let's just keep that in mind. But Baltimore, anything can happen. That's the old saying. You do need this win, though, Baltimore. Win it, you pretty much write your ticket to the playoffs. Speaking of another team playoff bound with a win this week, Houston. Nah, I'm kidding. We already know that. Indianapolis Colts. A win and a loss by Pittsburgh and Cincinnati get you the 5th seed. So there's, and you guys, unfortunately, you play on the road the next 2 games, Colts, at Houston, at Kansas. Now I think you're going to win that Week 16 game, so let's just take that out. Week 15 and 17. If you win all 3, you win the division title, which who would have thought that would have been for Andrew Luck? That's the reason why I'm giving Andrew Luck as my Rookie of the Year. He has a chance to do what RG3 can't do. And everybody wants to give it to RG3. Let's remember, Luck has the better shot at winning the division title this year, unlike Redskins, who need help and who also need help getting in. I know everyone's going to say stats or whatever, but I don't care about the stats. I care about one only, and that's the wins. Other than that, I could care less if he threw 50 picks. Or however many picks he's thrown, alright? Colts, like I said, though, you're in control of your own destiny. You went out. You beat Houston twice. You get in. You lose this game. You're still alive in the playoff hunt, but you will not be able to win the South. Pittsburgh, you are in trouble because you barely beat Baltimore a few weeks ago. But you lost to Cleveland, and this past week you got embarrassed by San Diego. And you don't have, your running back for the next game because he's suspended for whatever reason. You guys got a lot, and Big Ben did not look too good in that game. Rust or whatever you want to call it. But then after Dallas, you play at home, which is good, but you play Cincinnati, who that could decide the playoff playoff spot right there, and then Cleveland, who beats you already. You need to beat, so keep that in mind, Pittsburgh. You do control your own destiny because you are ahead of Cincinnati, but it's not by much. Period. Speaking of Cincinnati, you control your own destiny to somewhat of a degree as well, because after Philadelphia you play at Pittsburgh. That game right there could decide the division. Could decide not only the division, could decide the playoff spot as well. Because let's remember, right after Pittsburgh, Cincinnati has Baltimore. Week 16 and 17 will be key games for Cincinnati. Can Cincinnati do it? Who knows? You have to wait and see. But out of the 2 teams alive, yes. Excuse me again. There are 2 teams who can still make the playoffs, who are on the outside looking in. Who's the other one? The New York Jets. If Cincinnati and Pittsburgh were to fall out, go 8-8 or 7-9, I believe it is. 8-8, 7-9, I can't remember. And Jets go 9 and pretty much this. Jets have to go 9-7. Pittsburgh, Cincinnati have to go 8-8 or 7-9. If that happens, Jets get in. Okay, and that is freaking hilarious to me because you talk about a team who is below 500. They could get in right now. If they went out, they will barely get in. Now, of course, as far as for Cleveland, people saying they can still make it. Yeah, their chance for Cleveland is about that much. Alright, that much for Cleveland. Now, as for the Jets, you guys got a very lucky schedule last 2 games. You play Tennessee, who's been a meh. You play San Diego, who's been eh. And then you play Buffalo, who's been so that's a very good, and I'm going to say right now, if the Jets if the Jets make it, I think I will cry, because that would be the worst thing to happen. Because the Jets, everyone says Dallas is a media circus. No, the Jets are the media circus of the freaking decade. I've never seen so much insanity come with a football team before in my life. Okay? I mean, wow. If Jets make it, I think the NFL, I think fans will be going like, what the fuck just happened? And that's the best way to put it. Period on that. So, That's my wide world of sports. I know someone's like, oh, you don't talk about golf or soccer or football as it's known everywhere else in the world. Or, and I don't because I don't really enjoy golf, and a source for football slash soccer, depending what country you live in. I've tried to get into it. I've tried to watch it. I just can't do it. But that's me. You may love it, so enjoy it yourself. Take the enjoyment from me that I have for other things and add it to yourself, okay? Alright, that's my episode 5 of the Wide World of Sports from my point of view. Wizards still suck. I will see you next week unless you will be watching my WWE TLC and Ring of Honor Final Battle pay-per-view picks tomorrow. Till then, I'm signing out. Woo!